Every warrior has a story, and this one matters. Welcome to the Warrior Roundtable. I'm your host, Tina Marie Medlin, founder of Warrior Braids Ministry. And today we're bringing you part 3 of our powerful conversation with Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall. In this final episode, Benjamin reflects on faith under fire, the cost of courage, and what it truly means to keep going when life changes in an instant. Together, we talk about resilience, hope, and the unseen strength that carries warriors in everyday life. So pull up a chair, because you're not alone at this table. Well, that was probably important too for your family and your kids to see you embracing it, that you weren't afraid of it. So then they're not afraid of it.
Totally. And that was the most important thing throughout. My kids didn't come to visit me in hospital for 6-7 months. Because I was in America, they were in the UK. We made an important decision. Half the people who were injured, half the soldiers, and my wife spoke to many family members for the week this happened. What's the best? How do I deal with it? And half of the family said, you've got to fly, be on that military base with him, be by his bedside. That'll help him get through it.
Right.
Other half said, no, the worst thing you can do is uplift your kids, take them out of their school, move across so they can just sit at the end of his bed to see him. And there is no right answer. Depending on who you are, right. Both of those work. Some people need that, others don't. I needed the motivation to get home as soon as I could. I needed that idea that I'm going to work so hard so I can get home. That gave me a motive. So we said they have to stay here. But the biggest concern was that flight home. And I was just thinking, this is that moment where they're going to see the new me. And many injured veterans had said they walked in for the first time to see their kids, and some of their kids started crying because they found it so difficult to see their father so badly injured on prosthetics. And we have lots of other injuries as well when you go through this kind of
oh, sure.
And so it was on my mind, and I was going home and they were waiting for me, and I actually wore pants on that day because I wanted them just to see me. And I walked in the door and I was so nervous. How would they see it? And not for a single moment, they came running right up. They just embraced me, almost knocked me over. I'm holding onto the wall. What a moment of relief. And I showed them everything, my legs. And that was probably one of the most amazing moments to know that they just still saw me as dad, that I wasn't a new person, that I wasn't different. And that was amazing. But I talked to them the whole time about it. I wanted to show them everything, at least talk them through it. I wanted to hide it from them. So it was finding a balance with them. And they've been absolutely amazing. I think I was lucky in that they were young enough. So my eldest was 6 when it happened. Then the others were 4 and 2. That they were young enough that actually their minds are so flexible. I've spoken to veterans who were injured in a similar way, whose kids were like teenagers. And they found it harder because I suppose they had a more clear idea of who their father had been, and that. So slightly older kids, I think, find it a little bit harder. But the eldest being 6, no impact whatsoever.
The 2-year-old probably doesn't really remember anything prior.
No, exactly. This is just how she's always known me. So
yeah.
But even still, I think that if you are open and honest, you talk about it.
Yeah.
And I never once mention if I'm for right or wrong. I don't know, but I'm always careful when I can't walk or when I'm in a wheelchair. I think I probably am a little bit more happy, optimistic, and trying because I don't want them to see, because they've seen me, or I can't move well, or I'm in bed for a bit, which I can't help.
Right.
I think I probably overcompensate sometimes,
Yeah, I actually do know. I know when I got my ostomy, my girls were 12 and 9. So they weren't quite as young as yours, but not quite teenage. And they were a part of the whole process. The first thing they always tell us when you get an ostomy is to name it. And so I let the girls name it because I had them be so the ostomy's name is Stumpy. Stumpy the Stone is what they ended up calling it. It has stuck, but it was really important for them to kind of see, you know, the big surgery, what has happened, what's changed, and the needs that I might need from them. Even though they were young, they were resilient and they were amazing in the process of that recovery. But yeah, I mean, I just feel in any sort of situation like this, transparency is so important. You don't have to, if they're young or even if they're older, it doesn't have to be gruesome or anything like that. But I feel like you're healing and they're healing. I mean, they went through a trauma as well.
Yeah.
They may not remember, especially the little one, but your family went through a trauma, and that's all, by you being so open and transparent, or other people with their illnesses, that helps heal the entire family. That's my opinion of it, at least. I don't know. I think just being transparent
I
is
like
just
to,
so
yeah,
important.
I like to think that they, as a result, and again, it's looking for silver linings, that they are going to, and look, any kid should do this, but that they should, I hope that it's taught them to spend more time reaching out to those who need help.
Mhm.
They've moved to a new school recently, and there's a girl in a wheelchair. And the first thing they did was they wanted to spend the day just hanging out to getting to know her, And I was like, I felt so proud. I'm like, because I think, maybe it's given them this idea that, it doesn't matter how you look or who you are, they are totally open. So I like to think that that's given them something positive.
Exactly. And it's so good to have just that perspective, that attitude. Sometimes when, things come very easy, we don't always see, the struggle. All right, I got one more question for you. So, you've already given so much encouragement, but if there was like one last thing you wanted to tell our listeners that are on their own journey, with a chronic illness, what would it be? Like, what sort of encouragement would your wise wisdom, Benjamin Hall,
Oh boy.
spotlight?
Yeah. Um, well, no, I just got to think about it. There's so many things that I could, once I start talking, I'm not going to be able to finish talking, I'm sure. What is the one thing that I would really
I mean, I'd
suggest?
give you two if you need to, if you need to.
No, I mean, I'm sure I can think of lots, but it is, in one sense, also be patient. Nothing happens immediately. Immediate fixes aren't always there. Sometimes you've got to just look one step at a time. You've got to work hard to get there. Try and surround yourself with community and family, people who care. And make sure you give back as well. I think that's important. It's got to be in both directions. I think that people who just think that it's only that they need more help, it's all got to be about them. I think maybe it helps a lot when you start looking at ways of giving back in the other direction. I think that helps an awful lot. I always found that a few moments, I live in a world which is so fast paced, and there's always so much going on. And sometimes I
Right.
think just to stop sometimes. And I'm not talking for long. I'm talking for like 2 or 3 minutes. I just suddenly stop,
Yeah.
and I just let, even in silence, and I just let myself reflect for a little bit, and just that peace before I start moving, and the world churns up again. I was always fascinated. I'm not sure any of this is a real answer to your question, but I was always fascinated covering conflicts in wherever I was, whether it was like really awful refugee camps, or whether it was up in the mountains of like groups of people who had nothing, who often lost, most of their family, who had no food. Watching families be together,
Mm,
the laughter was there, the joy was there, the shared, you feelings were there, and I was like, it doesn't matter how bad it is, where they are, what's happened to them. Those values exist everywhere,
yes.
everywhere. And, I was just fascinated to see that. And the same is true now when I talk to, so often I talk to people who have been injured or who have chronic illness or have gone through something difficult. Those shared values of positivity, of being with one another, of helping one another, of finding joy in just the small little things, doesn't have to be in everything, that exists no matter how bad the situation is. It's there. It really is there. It doesn't matter how bad or difficult it's been. There are some good things. And when I was in hospital, for those 7 months, I remember on difficult days, just looking out the window, and it's pretty bad as well, and finding, just like taking appreciation for like a beautiful sky or a bird that sat on a, or a great piece of music. And even if it was just a minute or two where I could just enjoy that one little piece of beauty or that one little great piece of music, that gave me a little uplift, just a little uplift sometimes needed to say, okay, it's not all bad. There's still things I can appreciate, no matter how bad or painful this is. That right there was a little moment that lifted me up. And if one little moment can lift you up, other little moments can lift you up as well. And you start figuring out what helps, what lifts you up, what drives you. And you can just start building, and you'll be knocked down again. And then you start building it up again.
I just had an image in my head about a person being in a valley, like when you're at your lowest, and you just said the little things. And had this image of this person just slowly climbing up out of the valley, and then you said, and then they get knocked down. That was like what was in my head, but it's so true. It's step by step, it's minute by minute. And sometimes the smallest things can bring us the biggest joy, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah. I also think I've changed in one way, which is that I used to be, I remember I used to go and spend time, with friends. This is important, and talking about like the weather or football. And part of me feels that my life has a lot more meaning, that even though I've experienced things which are really bad, that maybe it sounds strange just saying, I don't think I've really ever said it out loud before, but I don't know. I just think that life you're missing life if it's just a walk in the park and you're not going through things. Like we live in this complex world where good and bad happens. And I think if you want to feel like you're a real part of the world and everything that's going on in your community, you got to know what it's like to have the ups and the downs as well. And I just kind of, in a strange sense, feels a little bit rewarding in a sense, like I want to feel like I've made the most out of life, and perhaps the things I've been able to do, the people I've reached out to, that's rewarding in a sense, in a way I would never have had before.
Right.
Maybe that's another thing I would suggest to people is actually go and try and, if you haven't gone to try and help someone, and that's just someone down the road or whoever needs help, give it a go. Literally, give it a go. Go and ask someone hey, can I help? Even if you can't get out of your house and someone needs help writing a letter to someone, whatever it is, hey, can I help you do that? Try it. Try just going out and helping someone in a small way when there was no need to at all.
Right.
And wow, is that rewarding? That really is rewarding. And that is what I think community in life is about. It's about sharing, starting to share. And if we keep growing that, then I think we're going to end up living in a better world.
Well, I just want to go out and help even more people now after talking to you today. Oh my gosh. You are so inspiring.
Oh, no, well, you too, Tina. I think you're the ones that are helping so much.
Well, I appreciate everything, the conversation, answering the question so honestly, if I was to use your words. I know that all of our listeners are really going to get a lot out of this podcast. So I so appreciate you coming on today at the Warrior Roundtable, and I look forward to doing some projects later.
Yeah, I'd like that. Let me know. Let me know what I can do. And anyone listening, reach out, start following, and Tina can find ways of you getting involved and helping in any way. And it is rewarding. So reach out to Tina.
Thanks so much, Ben. I appreciate it.
Good to see you, Tina.
You too.
As we close this 3-part Warrior Roundtable series with Benjamin Hall, we're reminded that courage doesn't always look like strength on display. Sometimes it looks like surrender, perseverance, and choosing faith when the future feels uncertain. Benjamin's story has invited us to see resilience through a deeper lens, one rooted in hope, refined by suffering, and sustained by God's presence in even the darkest moments. Whether you're facing a battlefield of your own or walking alongside someone who is, may this conversation stay with you as a reminder that your story isn't over and your pain is not without purpose. Thank you for pulling up a chair at our roundtable. Until next time, keep fighting, keep faithful, and keep being a warrior.